Oh, excellent. Thank you, Myrna. Okay, so let's dive in and just get started. So good morning. Welcome to the Riverside County Suicide Prevention quarterly meeting for the coalition. I am Diana Gutierrez, and I am the Prevention and Early Intervention Manager with Riverside University Health Systems Behavioral Health Department, and also one of your co-leads for the coalition. And with us today also is...
Good morning, everyone. I am Rebecca Antion. I am with the Riverside University Health System Public Health, and I am also a co-lead for the coalition. And we thank you so much for being here today.
So as I said, we have a packed agenda for you today. We are excited. We have several guest presenters. We're going to talk about suicide prevention in schools, and we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary of this coalition. Unbelievable. It's been an entire year that we've been doing this work. We've done some amazing things. And so I want to share with you one of the recent developments that we've had, which is this terrific video, which I want to make, hold on a second. I want to make sure that I've got sound. And this.
It's not always talked about, but it should be. In fact, talking about suicide, hearing from those who have contemplated it, and learning how to open the conversation with someone you are concerned about are among the most important tools we have to prevent suicide in Riverside County.
I think being able to talk about suicide prevention in this way helps normalize the feelings that come along with it. In my own experience, I think being able to bring a voice to my pain ultimately led me to a place where I could bring a voice to my healing. It helped me know that I wasn't alone. Education and awareness is so important. I think without that education piece, it can be easy to just believe that we're inherently bad for feeling the way that we're feeling, instead of really understanding what it is that's happening for us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in a way that helps me feel like there's a solution.
Understanding the importance of such conversations, Riverside County's leadership adopted Building Hope and Resiliency as a Riverside County strategic plan in June 2020. This support led directly to the formation of the Suicide Prevention Coalition 4 months later. The coalition is comprised of community-based organizations, school districts, county agencies, faith communities, representation from military leadership in Riverside County, and others with an expertise or interest in suicide prevention.
We offer a variety of virtual and in-person trainings that cover the topics of suicide prevention and mental health that are available for free to anyone who lives or works in Riverside County. The coalition welcomes new members, and each quarter we meet and talk about suicide prevention and get updates from our 6 subcommittees. And the subcommittees are where the real work happens. So if you're interested in being a part of our coalition, you can check out the different subcommittees and let us know of your interest. Everyone has a role to play in suicide prevention.
The trainings, which are free to Riverside County residents, do more than just offer a window into the darkness and pain our friends and family members may be experiencing. They offer concrete ways to recognize the signs someone may be considering suicide. They teach an individual how to talk to that person with clarity and compassion, and they give guidance on where and how to hand them off to a place of help and safety.
Here in Riverside County, we offer trainings in suicide prevention that help individuals identify potential people that could be at risk of suicide. We teach strategies on how to support a person who may be in crisis. And then we also share information on how to connect those individuals to the appropriate supports. Well, ultimately, these trainings really help us in our efforts to reduce suicides here in Riverside County, and then they also help us to build capacity to support our community in a more meaningful way.
Individuals who attend the training often come away feeling empowered to help others.
My name is Katie McClendon, and what I learned from the suicide prevention training was how to recognize the signs of suicide. The most helpful part of that training for me was learning how to ask the question, are you thinking of suicide?
Awareness, dialogue, education, taken together, they can lead to suicide prevention. It can save a life. It can save a family. It can save the future. To become a coalition member, email pei@ruhealth.org. For trainings and resources, visit uptoriverside.org. If you're someone you know is in crisis, please call the local helpline at 951-686-HELP or text the crisis line at 741-741.
We are grateful to Rivco TV and the support of our Board of Supervisors that helped us put this video together and continue to provide us support in being able to do the work of the Suicide Prevention Coalition. So as I said, we have a very full agenda today. And so I want to ensure that we've got enough time for all of our presenters. So I will be giving each of you presenters a 2-minute warning during your time, so you all are aware the amount of time that you have. I will unmute, say 2 minutes, and then at the end of those 2 minutes, I'll chime in and give you time up. So I apologize if we end up getting cut short, but I really want to make sure that every presenter has time to share a bit. We will provide you with all the slides and handouts information at the end of this meeting so that everyone in the audience will be able to get all of the information that they're looking for, as well as the recording. So without further ado, let's talk. Susanna Juarez-Williamson is going to be sharing about some data related to suicide. Please welcome Susanna.
Good morning, everyone. Before we take a look at today's agenda for youth and school focus, let's start off this morning. We have a quick review of suicide deaths and attempts in Riverside County. This overall figure shows the proportion of suicide deaths by age groups. Adults account for the highest percentage of suicides, followed by older adults that are 60 plus. Youth, represented by young adults 18 to 24, represents a smaller proportion of suicides, and youth 0 to 17 are the smallest group for suicide deaths. And on the right there, you can see the rates per 100,000, and you can see that older adults, given their population size and the number of suicide deaths that occurs, is actually our largest group if we're looking at the rates of death per 100,000. And so the older adults are actually impacted more by suicides. The percentage of suicide deaths by age group has shown moderate shifts over the past 3 years, but it's very similar. And it's important to note that 2021 is provisional data at this time. And although any death by suicide is important to note, we do see that our adults and older adult population is impacted at higher percentages versus our youth population. Yet even that doesn't speak to the entire picture. Although every suicide death is a tragedy, we also need to be concerned for the number of people in our community who are dealing with thoughts of suicide and those who have been in such overwhelming pain that they have made a suicide attempt, which brings us to our next slide. Suicide attempts over the past 3 complete years of data shows a different story. A greater proportion of the youth population 0 to 17 is impacted by suicide attempts. So we saw a very small percentage for suicide deaths, but here we see a much larger proportion of the overall population that are 0 to 17 that are impacted by suicide attempts. And so we can see that just about 1/3 of the suicide attempts are youth age 0 to 17. While this data signifies suicide attempts captured via hospitalization records, many suicide attempts do not receive medical attention and are not identified as self-inflicted injuries if treated, thus are not represented in the data here. Overall, this signifies our need to stay vigilant in our efforts to prevent suicide and to remain steadfast in our efforts to help those who are considering suicide to be connected to support that can assist them in finding their reasons for living. So that is the snapshot here in these 2 slides overall for Riverside County. But given our focus for today's presentation, let's take a closer, more focused look at youth suicides and youth suicide attempts in Riverside County. And here we can see the suicide deaths for the 0 to 17 age group by year. And by proportion, when we drill down, we can see that the 15 to 17-year-old is the greater group amongst that 0 to 17, that for the most part, they've been the larger proportion. But you can also see that except for 2020, where there was a shift to the 10 to 14 age group being the larger proportion, keeping in mind the number of deaths is small, but again, every person and every suicide is a loss, and it's important to understand. Typically, the number of deaths in the 10 to 14 age range are 3 to 4. In that 1 year of 2020, it was 8. And typically the deaths in the age range for 15 to 17 is 6 to 7, with the overall 0 to 17 age range having about 10 deaths a year. So we see this small shift in 2020. Well, not a small shift, but a shift in 2020 to 10 to 14 age range. Now that shift could be 14-year-olds because a very large proportion of all the suicide deaths is accounted for by really 14 to 17-year-olds. We do not yet have a complete set of 2021 data. So these percentages that we're showing, because we see the trend shifting back in 2021, where the larger proportion is going to be 15 to 17-year-olds. We don't have all the data yet for 2021, so these proportions could change. And it could shift totally back to being 15 to 17-year-olds are the larger proportion. What else did I want to tell you about that? So we're going to transition now into looking at known suicide attempt data. We see a different story unfold in our county as we look now at known suicide attempts. And as we saw in the earlier slide, youth 0 to 17 are a third of the suicide attempts. Reviewing suicide attempts and looking over the past 3 years, we see again that 10 to 14 and 15 to 17 age ranges, but it is a little more spread out. Sorry, the slide hadn't changed yet. Thank you. So we see it a little more spread out in the 10 to 14 and 15 to 17 making up the larger proportion, but you can see that in 2020 we see a little bit more in the 10 to 14, and it's very similar to the suicide deaths. The year-to-year trends stay pretty much the same. And we know that the World Health Organization has cited that by far the strongest risk factor for suicide is a previous suicide attempt. Our youth who are experiencing suicide attempts are at an increased risk for repeated attempts and perhaps death by suicide. As indicated with youth suicide deaths, we do not currently have a systematic process for identifying contributing factors around youth suicide attempts, which makes it challenging to accurately assess the data and understand more. So suicide prevention can only be effective when everyone is part of the solution, from county leadership, business owners, educators, faith leaders, healthcare providers, mental health professionals, first responders, to all members of our community. Everyone has a role to play. A comprehensive public health approach to suicide prevention emphasizes early intervention and effective crisis response and addresses health disparities and access. So we want to link how we are looking at the problem, and now we'll shift our focus to see what solutions our school partners are implementing to address suicide prevention efforts across the suicidal crisis path. Is there time for any questions, Diana?
Unfortunately, no. We will hope
Okay.
at this time at the end.
We are moving
So
on.
thank you, Susanna.
You're welcome.
I'm going to stop share and allow our COE to slides. And Kathy and Teresa, you have 15 minutes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So excited to be with you here this morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kathy King, and I'm an administrator here at the Riverside County Office of Education in the People and Administrative Services Unit. And my work centers around SEL, mental health and wellness, and I'm also one of the leads for our mental health initiative. So today we'd like to share with you some of our supports and events that we have designed through our mental health initiative over the last several months. And so as we move to our next slide, you'll see here a list of some of the resources and supports we have created through our mental health initiative. And so today we're going to take a little bit of time to share some highlights from each of these endeavors. And we're going to begin with our RCOE Virtual Wellness Center. So our RCOE Virtual Wellness Center is a place for students, staff, and families to find resources and tools in order to practice strategies for coping during challenging times. So you'll find links to community services, inspiring videos to uplift your spirits, strategies for mindfulness and stress relief, as well as videos on a variety of topics such as fitness, nutrition, and art. This slide is linked to our virtual wellness center, and I have one of my colleagues in the background, Teresa Stevens, with me today, and she's going to put the link in the chat as well. So I encourage you, when you have a moment, to take a moment and visit our virtual wellness center and see the resources that are available there. And then our next two slides speak to our desire to elevate the importance of mental health throughout our county and to destigmatize talking about mental illness, and to share and get the word out about some of the resources that we have, like our virtual wellness center, that are available to our district. So last May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we decided during the month of May to design a mental health spirit week around the theme Mental Health Matters. And so we chose the week of May 24th through the 28th and created themes for each day. Educators, students, and families could visit our website and find activities around that day's themes. So you'll see on the slide there the daily themes that we created for each day. So Monday was Mental Health Matters, Tuesday was Treat Yourself Tuesday, and so on. And then in addition to that event, we also created an art poster contest around that theme, Mental Health Matters. So the contest was for Riverside County students in TK through 12th grade. We received 220 art submissions from 57 different schools, and we had 4 different grade spans, and we awarded a first, second, third, and honorable mention for each of those grade spans. So on the slide, you see some of our contest winners. Each of these families expressed their gratitude of having a positive event for their child, especially appreciated that it was centered around art. And one of the biggest lessons that we learned through this contest was how we just have to continue to create spaces and places for our students to share their voice, to share their ideas, and to share their stories, because they truly are amazing. And so on our webpage, we created a slideshow of the artwork for our contest winners. Again, it's linked on the slide, and Teresa will put the link in the chat. So when you have a moment, if you want to go and see the art that they created, it really was amazing. In addition, we also provided a variety of professional development offerings, which you'll see a snippet of those offerings on the next slide. This year, we designed a professional development that addressed adult self-care, suicide prevention, and trauma-informed practices. And we partnered with our friends at Riverside University Health, Public Health, and Behavioral Health to provide some of those trainings. In addition, many of our offerings, such as our PBIS trainings, were provided with a mental health lens. And then the next couple of slides speak to the creation of our 6 care spaces. So one of Dr. Gomez's goals, and one of the goals of our committee, was to provide access to our students and our families around mental health services. So we created a care space at each of our alternative education sites, and CARE stands for providing our community with access to mental health services and building relationships that support and encourage emotional wellness. And so that slide is linked to our actual page that we have at our RCOE website. So, and Teresa will put the link in the chat. So again, that is something that you can take a look at. And then we contracted with the Latino Commission to provide the mental health resources and services out of our 6 locations. And they provide that at the location as well as through telehealth and in-home services. And services are provided in Spanish and in English, and each site provides flexible hours so that we're able to meet the needs of our students and their families. We know evening time is a little bit better sometimes for our families, so we wanted to address that. Dr. Lexi Backstrom is leading this work, and she's partnering with our school districts to assist them with accessing those services. And then here is the list of the various locations that our care spaces are located at. And on September 28th, we actually had a formal opening and ribbon cutting ceremony. So the services that we provide through the care space are through a multi-tiered approach, and we focus on early intervention and prevention. So on the slide there, you'll kind of see how the services are broken down by those tiers. And again, Latino Commission is helping us provide those services. And then our Mental Health Initiative Committee took some time to just reflect on what we had done so far through our initiative. And we realized we had placed a lot of focus around our districts and our schools, which we should. That's the job of our county office.
I got some yesterday.
If maybe someone can mute themselves, great.
He's like, take one of each. And I'm like, no.
Thank you. All right. So we wanted to focus on our districts and our schools, especially because that is our work, but we also realized that we hadn't taken a lot of time to look at our own workplace wellness and what we were doing to help our own employees in their journey toward wellness. So our mental health initiative committee decided to design an event centered around workplace wellness. That was fun and educational for all of our employees at the county office. So we designed an event called WOW, and WOW stands for Week of Wellness. So we chose the dates of September 20th through the 24th to join the national movement around employee wellness. We also wanted to go beyond just thinking of wellness in relation to nutrition and fitness, but to think of wellness as being healthy in many dimensions of our lives. So the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, had identified and developed 8 dimensions of wellness to optimize health, and we decided to use their work to frame our event. So here on the slide, you see those 8 dimensions of wellness. So we designed an online event with a web page on our RCOE website that included live and recorded workshops, podcasts, TED Talks, YouTube videos, online articles, and activities that would assist all of our employees in learning more about the 8 dimensions of wellness and how to incorporate these practices in their self-care moving forward. So this event was a huge success. We averaged 200 people attending the live workshops each day. We had over 4,000 page views in 1 week for our WOW pages, and that represented about 10% of the total page views that our website received. Each day we had activities, and each of those days we had 400 page views for each of those pages. And so it was a great event and was the kickoff for us as the county office to continue to focus in on our wellness as we move forward. And so that kind of caps off the things that we have done in our mental health initiative and around mental health here at the county office. You see there my contact information on that slide. So if you have any questions or you want to know how do I learn more about the care spaces, or maybe how do I do an online event for my employees in my organization or district, please reach out and feel free to contact me. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Diana.
Awesome, Kathy, you beat the clock. So
I tried. Well, how well did I do? Was I on? I was
like
trying.
5 minutes. That's fantastic. So if anybody does have a quick question, or we can just roll right along and make sure we get to every presentation today. Are there any quick questions for Kathy? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kathy and Teresa, for being here today. Really excited to hear about what RCOE is up to and how they can better support our districts in suicide prevention. And so we're going to move right along then, and I'm going to welcome Mindy McFarland, Staff Development Officer here on my team with PEI. And she's going to talk to you about the Up to Riverside Back to School Toolkit.
Thanks, Diana. So the Mental Health Back to School Toolkit was developed by PEI to help educators and students create conversations about mental health at every grade level. So these are quick and easy activities to provide tools for use in the classroom to welcome youth and young adults to a safe space where they can express themselves, find support, and get connected to resources. The aim of these activities and lesson plans is to support and empower students and teachers to care for their mental health and reduce stigma. This toolkit provides PowerPoints, lesson plans, and resources tailored by grade level to increase mental health awareness and social emotional wellness. So we developed ready-made PowerPoint presentations and short lesson plans for probably about a 5 to 10 minute conversation or activity. Different lessons were developed for different grade levels. We have the elementary schools, middle school, high school, college, and also there's a place for leader resources. So for elementary school, our topics include affirmations, coping skills, and feelings. And for middle school, we have how to help a friend, mental health, self-care and wellness, and suicide prevention. And our high school topics include directing change on mental health matters, directing change on suicide prevention, how to help a friend, mental health, stress management, and suicide prevention. And we also have college topics, which cover mental health, self-care and wellness, stress management, and also a resource page for suicide prevention information. So all the materials can be downloaded. For example, if you wanted to download materials for how to help a friend for middle school students, you'd have access to a typed lesson plan along with objectives and a rationale, and also discussion questions and suggested activities and videos as well. And here we see a couple screenshots of those PowerPoints that are included to use in the classroom or even to use remotely if it's virtual. And that's a little bit about the Back to School Mental Health Toolkit.
Terrific. Thank you, Mindy. Next up, I welcome Rebecca Antion to talk about SPARE.
Thank you so much, Diana. So the Suicide Prevention and Risk Evaluation Project has been an ongoing project for a number of years now, but it really started with us here in public health, with behavioral health, and with Riverside County Office of Education coming together. And we looked originally at the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale as our base. We utilized this as our base because it's been heavily researched across different populations. We did develop a professional learning network, which was made up of many school districts across Riverside County to really get their feedback on the form and see how we could adopt a tool that would be useful and specific for us here in Riverside County. And so we were really looking at considerations in implementing this standardized tool, as well as finding out what information our school districts believe may be helpful to inform our suicide prevention efforts. We also layered into the evaluation tool intervention techniques that are learned through the training, called Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training, or ASSIST for short. So we were really looking at evaluating a person's risk for suicide, but also seeking to help decrease that risk through these researched interventions and techniques. Now, free ASSIST trainings can be offered and are recommended as a first step to staff who are using this tool, as well as virtual training on the tool itself that shows how it can be implemented through videos, discussions, and practice. We're asking school districts who pilot the tool to provide non-identifying information that can inform suicide prevention efforts. And we are also making available to the participating school districts data reports that they can then use in justification for further funding or justification for bringing in other types of programs. So that is the SPARE project.
Terrific. Thanks, Rebecca. And I think you're still up, going to share about TSAP.
Okay, well, as we transition now into learning more about our teen suicide awareness and prevention program, this program was originally developed in 2010. We currently are serving 17 school districts across the county. And the overall goal of our TSAP program is ultimately we want to increase awareness on the issue of teen suicide. We are hoping to empower our youth to act as a resource for their friends and peers, and really try to increase resilience and protective factors among the youth that we serve, and hopefully the youth that our student leaders encounter and work with. So the overview of the program includes some staff development opportunities. So we do train staff at different sites. We can work with these staff to really look at providing training that would consist of 1 to even 2-day trainings. So we offer the the signs training. We can offer the assist training, whatever would be appropriate for the school sites. We also offer parent and community engagement, which includes workshops that touch on warning signs, risk factors, and even resources that are available to youth in crisis. And then finally, we have our student engagement component, and this is where we work with students to train them in suicide prevention and how to help a friend or a peer that might be in crisis. And so we have some feedback from participants, so from actual students that have participated in the program. And as you can see, one of our participants shared that, they were able to help a friend and provide resources to a friend after participating in our program. They also felt that, more knowledgeable about resources and ways to engage with somebody who may be in crisis or may be experiencing thoughts of suicide. So we were very grateful for these students and providing some feedback, but most importantly, very encouraged by the fact that they seem to be learning and grasping the concepts that we're sharing. And that is all I have.
Great, thank you so much, Rebecca. So we wanted to we're trying to give you a little taste of the kinds of things that are happening out there with our students on campuses and through different programs. And so we have asked a few districts to join us today and talk a little bit about what's happening in their district. And so we've invited Hemet Unified. So we have April Jones and Lydia Valenzuela with us today. And we have some initial data. This was provided to us through RUHS Public Health, and this is related to the TSAP program. So this is some of the information that they use in recognizing which districts to be sure that they're providing these services on, although it is available to every district in our county. And so this is some updated data taking a look at teen suicide with both deaths and attempts. And so we are highlighting Hemet today and 2 other districts in each of the 3 regions of our county. And we've invited April and Lydia to share a little bit more. So we'll now hear from them.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to put a link to our Hemet USD Behavioral Health website in the chat for anyone that would like to take a look. But we have a few different options in Hemet Unified. So some of the protective factors that we've put in place is that we do our social emotional learning screening every year. So we're actually in the process of doing that now with all of our students. So this year, we're going to do it twice. We're doing it for 2 weeks in the fall, and then we're going to do it again in March. So we have opted to use Panorama for our elementary schools and our K through 8s, but we are using the whole person health screener that was created by Riverside University Health Systems for our Valley Middle Schools and our high schools. We also do classroom presentations. So we have our counselors that do bully prevention. We have our MHPs, our mental health professionals that will do stigma reduction or mental health awareness trainings for elementary, middle, and high school as well within the classrooms. We use our multi-tiered systems of support. So we have we use PBIS, but we also use an integrated systems framework that helps combine PBIS framework with mental health initiatives and utilizing our community partners. We have Sprigeo, which is also an online bullying reporting or even a crisis reporting. So kids can go on there and report if they have a concern about a friend, if there's something happening on campus, and they're able to do that anonymously, and it'll go straight to an admin. That's one of the technologies we also use in the event that there is a concern that happens after school hours or on the weekends. For instance, a student might see a post from a friend on social media and they're concerned. They can use the Sprigeo platform and it'll notify an admin immediately. And then we can send a police officer to the home to do a wellness check if there's a concern for risk for that student when we're not on campus. We also have added in extended learning opportunities this year. So we have some non-student days where students are able to come on campus and participate in a variety of activities, including mental health and groups. And they will be hiring a mental health professional specifically for those extended learning opportunities to offer services after school and during the summer and during our non-student days. We also use our PLUS team, which is our student leadership teams on campus that do a variety of campaigns. Over the summer, they did a YPAR research study and on equity. The focus was on equity, and what the group came up with is that they would like to increase our mental health services, diversity of mental health staff. And so that is something that we are working on now. One of the other things that came from that YPAR research is that they asked for mental health clubs on all of our campuses. So that's something that we've started this year as well, is having NAMI on campus clubs at all of our high schools. And we are currently in the process of onboarding mental health professionals for all of our middle schools. And we are hiring mental health professionals for all of our elementaries as well. And so looking to incorporate mental health clubs on our younger grades as well. We have a variety of college and career activities, so it allows students to visit other campuses, universities, colleges, presentations to just build hope and a vision for their future. We have parent liaisons at every campus that have just recently been trained as parent partners through Riverside University Health Systems. So they're able to connect families to resources and supports as needed when they call in and disclose any concerns for their student. And a variety of extracurricular activities, including sports and clubs, anything to target a student's interest or needs to help build a sense of belonging and connection on campus. Our campuses are very intentional about creating a variety of different activities for our students. Next. In regards to our prevention activities, we've partnered with Riverside University Health Systems to provide a lot of professional development opportunities, many of which you guys have heard of: Safe Talk, QPR, Assist, Youth Mental Health First Aid. Those are things that we offer to our parents, our staff, our counselors, our mental health professionals throughout the year. And so we have those trainings going on. We intend to be one of the pilots of the SPARE program as well. So we did participate in that learning opportunity and would like to utilize that program as well. We offer a variety of parent workshops and trainings through RUHS, but also our own internal mental health professionals will also provide trainings and workshops. We have parent partners that are connected to us through Riverside University Health Systems. And as I mentioned, our parent liaisons were trained as parent partners to also offer similar supports. We utilize the TSAP program. In fact, we have a risk assessment committee, and one of our subcommittees is the TSAP committee. And so they work directly with Rebecca to bring that program and services to our students, typically through our PLUS program. And as sorry.
Just 2 minutes.
Okay, and so our counselors and MHPs continue to do classroom presentations and education. We had our Suicide Awareness Week and our Mental Health Awareness Week activities that included rock painting, chalk drawings, making friendship bracelets for each other, kind notes to each other. And so those are really effective this year. And then stigma reduction campaigns through our NAMI on campus mental health clubs. In regards to intervention, so this year we have school counselors, PBIS specialists, and mental health professionals on all of our campuses, TK through 12th. So that's a big improvement this year. We are, like I mentioned before, we're in the process of hiring associates so that we can have mental health professionals on all of our elementaries, but currently have mental health professionals on our middle and high school campuses. We have a formal risk assessment procedure. We have crisis response teams in the event that there is a crisis either on campus or something that happened in the community. We're able to provide counseling support to all of our students through groups and individual counseling. And then we also started Bridge Services last year, which is for students that might be returning from a hospitalization or an expulsion, but they have been off campus for an extended period of time. And so the Bridge Services is a internal wraparound project where we have mentoring provided by our PBIS specialists. We have therapy provided through our mental health counseling, and then as well as academic support through our school counselors. And so we provide that wraparound service all year long to help return them back to school and create a restorative experience for them as they come back on our campuses. And then lastly, for postvention, we've partnered with several community agencies here in Hemet to offer bereavement groups, grief and loss groups, anger management groups. Our therapists are currently trained and certified in DBT skills, so they offer those groups as well as individual counseling with DBT. And we continue to use our community partners, Wiley Center, Victor, Riverside University Health Systems, Renewing Hope, Operation Safe House, and several others to help provide additional support and counseling for students as needed.
Awesome. Thank you, April, very much. That was terrific. Next up, I'm inviting Lisa Todd from Palm Springs Unified School District to tell us a little bit about what's happening in that desert district. Again, here's the updated data from Public Health for Palm Springs Unified. And Lisa, I'll turn the floor to you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I'm Lisa Todd. I'm a coordinator with the Student Services Department with Palm Springs Unified. Formerly a school counselor for a lot of years, so this has been kind of an area of focus for mine. But I just wanted to share some information. We have a lot of similar things actually going on as was described in Hemet, but talking about our focus for the upstream, our basic universal supports for all of our students. Like a lot of other programs or districts, we're very focused on the social emotional learning. And so we've intentionally brought in some programs like the Second Step online curriculum that all of our grade levels are utilizing. And then we also have our secondary sites using a program called Inner Explorer that works on mindfulness. And then we have some of our secondary sites piloting EduGuide, which is also some social emotional support paired with coaching. And so the other piece that we've implemented this year in particular is really intentional focused time on SEL, which is not something that we've always previously done. And so our elementaries have an SEL period at the start of the day that's intentionally focused on our SEL lessons and supporting students. Also allowing for some of the restorative things that need to happen if there needs to be a restorative circle during that time. And we have one of our middle schools that currently has been piloting the advisory period this year with the expectation that we're transitioning to an advisory period for our other middle schools beginning here in the next year, hopefully. So that intentional time has been a focus. And then also similar to Hemet, we also use the Panorama survey to do our SEL screenings for students. And we've been using the Student Success Portal, which allows us to drill down to individual students' responses on that survey, and then be able to also track their trends with their academics, their behavior, and their attendance to be able to start identifying students who may be at risk. So we're using that with our school counselors, creating intervention groups. And we also have technology to support identifying any students who may be at risk, including the Sprigeo anonymous reporting, our Go Guardian, and then we use Gaggle, which allows us to track and monitor any searches that students may be doing that are concerning, and we can identify students who may be having problems after hours. We do have a response plan with that, working with our district security patrols outside of school hours. We've also really been focusing on just the nature of our campus culture and climate. And so the district over the past year and a half is very much focused on equity work. And so they have developed an anti-racism coalition, which has put some very specific goals and plans in place to support our African-American students. And those are actually tied also with board expectations. And so that's something that we're reporting out to the board. And we've also just within the last few months started an LGBTQ alliance that is focused on being able to support our students on all of our campuses, including, and so making sure that all spaces are inclusive and welcoming. And so those things have been a focus. Along with our conscious education efforts, we have trainers that are working to support all of our teachers to be able to provide inclusive and welcoming spaces on campuses. We also are in the process of developing wellness centers at all of our school sites. Our high schools, almost all of them have them in place, and we're working on transitioning that with our middle schools as well. And so it's a bit of a project. We have a couple that are running super well and a couple that are still in the work in progress, but it's really exciting to see. We have some support of our foundation that is doing some fundraising to be able to make those spaces really, really welcoming, really awesome, and then just a ton of wraparound supports available within those. Thank you. So with the prevention piece, we have our counselors doing guidance lessons within the classrooms to be able to provide specific suicide prevention information. We also have we use a program called Keenan to do some mandatory staff training at the start of each year. And so we've incorporated a suicide prevention training that all staff members, not just our teachers and not just our site staff, but also classified and every other department needs to go through. So that's one piece that ensures that all of our staff have at least some training with that. We also have been working with CDE. We were having a few trainings for the youth mental health first aid. And what we decided was that it was such a need that we actually have 2 trainers now. So myself and one of our school counselors are trained as instructors, and we have allotted some money to be able to train 4 more instructors so that we can actually be doing those trainings in-house. We're in the process where we're regularly offering those trainings, the other instructor and myself, but then we're looking at adding the team to be able to expand the number of teachers and staff that we're able to train in the youth mental health first aid. And then we also have our crisis resource information widely available. So it's posted on our website, it's posted in multiple places and other sites' websites, posters around the classrooms, on the back of the ID cards. And so we try to make sure that that information is just very, very well publicized, so that if students need to access any of that, that's available. And then we've also had some district-wide campaigns for Mental Health Awareness Month and other types of things, trying to put out on our social media to make sure that this is a conversation that's being had, and so that it's no longer something that we don't talk about. With our intervention, we have, along with probably everybody else, has really been trying to increase our staffing. So we have our own internal mental health department within our district. So we hire and staff our own mental health offices in several locations, but we're hiring additional mental health therapists to be able to be stationed directly on school sites, and that are purchase-based, so we're purchasing the time and not necessarily having to go through the Medi-Cal billing for that. And then also social workers. We're hiring our first social workers and have hired additional intervention school counselors at all of our secondary sites to be able to focus specifically on some of our needier populations. We've also hired an additional homeless liaison. We had a person who was working with both foster students and homeless, and we've hired a full-time homeless McKinney-Vento support liaison. We've also done have a very specific risk assessment process, and then our training, make sure that all of our counselors are trained, as well as our school psychologists and our site administrative staff. And then we have made a commitment to we've just hired a whole bunch of new counselors, so we just took them all through, as well as our new school psychologists, the PREPARE training, which is focused specifically on handling and responding to crisis. And so that's something that we've been putting in place. And then we also have the internal team developed so that if there's a crisis that happens on campus, we do have a team of people that we can pull to be able to respond. So I feel like I probably left out 20 things, but that's a general idea of what we're doing here in Palm Springs.
Yeah, that's terrific. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being here today and sharing this overview. We know that there's so much more richness happening on all the campuses, but this is a great bird's eye view of a few things happening across our county. And of course, we'll make sure everybody has contact information. So if there's additional questions you want to know more from each of these presenters, you can contact them directly. So thank you for being here, Lisa. And so next up, we're going to head to the western region of our county and take a look at Riverside Unified School District. Matthew Fraley is going to present on their behalf. And so here is the updated data for Riverside Unified School District in terms of teen suicide, death, and attempts. And so please welcome Matthew to come talk.
Hi, good morning. And actually, Dr. Kat is actually going to start because she's had a lot of familiarity with Anti-Bullying Institute and Operation Safe House. So she's a better person to kind of explain that because she's worked with them really closely. So I'm going to let her start and then I'll jump in.
Welcome. I'll let you know when 2 minutes is up.
All right. Hi, I'm Dr. Sarmiento. And so one of the things that while I was working with Riverside Unified School District, I worked really closely with some of the amazing partnerships that they have there. So the Anti-Bullying Institute is one that they have that they not only are able to provide supports for elementary, middle, and high school. So the high school, they did a lot of partnerships with peer-to-peer, connecting with local colleges to do those peer mentorships with some of the students on campus. In addition to a lot of activities, they did a lot of parent classes. They do a lot of kindness events as well as activities for educators and for the students on campuses. They do have a lot of conferences where they do, which one is coming up this next month. They do try to get us a lot of funding to offer free tickets to the conference for students as well as staff. And so they were a really good advocate and helped a lot and did a lot of different, I would say, a lot of different activities on campus and even really big presentations and keynote speakers as well on campus. So that was one that was really, really beneficial. And then with Operation Safe House, what they're able to do, amazing program. They are able to assist with a lot of the evidence-based groups. They run a lot of evidence-based groups on campus, such as Stress in Your Mood, CBITS, and they have a few other ones as well, including an app that they have as well to offer support for students that might be having a hard time. They also offer, I know they do a Cup of Happy, which is also another support on campus in addition to LGBTQ+ support. And I'll go ahead and segue it back to Matt.
Okay, yeah, and that Cup of Happy is a really good group. We have a open club here on my campus, and they work directly with those LGBTQ youth. So that one's an amazing resource. And then for it's a lot of the things that other school districts have already shared. One of the other things that we have really gotten a hold of is NAMI, or TSAP is the first one actually. And Riverside University Health Systems is the one that kind of puts that on. So how it really looks on campus. So my role as a student assistance program counselor is to invite these groups such as Anti-Bullying Institute and Safe House and Riverside University Health Systems with TSAP and be able to have this training just here on campus. And the TSAP is really helpful in being able to increase that awareness of teen suicide. It's one of those kind of things that's out there, that stigma of, you know, if we don't talk about suicide, then they won't have that idea in their heads. So this is really a program where it's that teaching our students, and that way they can do that peer-to-peer support, which has a lot of background that's evidence-based, to where that's going to be able to really be able to stick with the kids. Because there's, from adults, sometimes it goes over their heads, but when it's actually the peers being able to teach this information, then that's where really a lot of this information sticks. And that's why TSAP is super, super important to be able to teach these kids. So they'll do 2 different lessons, and I think it's like 1.5 to 2 hours where they'll teach the kids about these things. And then we're able to take these kids that have been trained, and then with someone like me in the classroom that's with them in the training, then they'll go ahead and they will go ahead and share that information with those students to various amount of classrooms. So the message is really effective, and that's a very good resource. And Rebecca mentioned TSAP earlier, so she did a much better job explaining it than I did. And then I think the next slide is for NAMI on campus and SAP.
All right, if you're ready to move on, yes, we are going to share some other
Well,
resources.
well, you
And
said
so-
2 minutes, so I was trying to.
Oh, I was going to give you a 2-minute warning. You had 3 left.
Oh, I thought you said 2 minutes total, so you didn't tell me exactly how long I had. So, but that's okay.
You want to share a little more?
It's okay. We can go into NAMI on campus was the one I was going to spend more time on as well.
Okay.
And then we may actually go back to Kat for Gen Up because she's worked with them a little bit as well. So NAMI on campus, we started this actually a couple of years ago, and I know there's other schools that have used it. There was a couple kids during COVID when it first hit, we went on lockdown that said that they really wanted some mental health support on campus. So myself and a group at Arlington High School, we teamed together and we went through the process of getting NAMI on campus here. And so last year during COVID, we met weekly doing virtual lessons, just kind of talking in groups about their stress, anxiety, coping skills. We watch videos. And at one point, that was like during probably like a year ago, we probably had about 60 to 70 kids that were actually in the club just because they needed that support and needed that help. They weren't able to go out and hang out with their friends, so they were really able to focus like on their mental health. So wasn't a club that we've ever had on campus before. So it's really kind of odd of how we've transitioned to actually in person. But they've done a really good job in letting other kids know on campus. I get it all the time. What is NAMI? What is NAMI? What is NAMI? So National Alliance of Mental Illness, and being able to express to other peers on campus about that it's okay to not be okay, that it's okay that there's other people facing mental illness, and how we can support our friends and families that are going through mental illness. So this is kind of really the first time that they've really been exposed to any kind of resources for mental health support. And I always explain it to them that when they go to the doctor, they're usually pretty proud or something where, oh yeah, I got a dentist appointment, I got a doctor appointment. But whenever you say I need to go see a therapist, like no one ever goes out and says that. And that's when they kind of realize that that's an issue, that we are not able to just say that we need help in talking with someone. And that's really what this club has really been helpful in being able to reduce that stigma. So ours is called NAMI at North. And we partnered with Brenda Scott, who is NAMI San Jacinto, who has been a really good partner in being able to give us resources and give us different handouts to create like conversation when we've had like booths and things on campus, different toolkits. Because NAMI on campus actually gives you, it's really easy to follow because they give you guidelines and lesson plans of like what the kids can do. So that way, because the kids that want to help out, they just know that they want to end the stigma, they want to be able to help, but they don't really know, have all the information and the statistics. So NAMI on campus does a really good job at providing just a month by month, just what to do and what to say. And then there's someone like me that's an advisor with them. And I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So I'm able to really help them on any questions that they may have about anxiety, depression, suicide awareness. So that way there's someone that's a professional that's able to kind of teach them and help them. But the whole purpose of the club is really to encourage people to recognize early signs of mental illness, provide community resources, what's out there to kind of help them. In order to really start the club, it's super easy. You get an information packet and it's available on their website. It's namica.org. And if you're interested, you complete like the online form, just showing that you're interested. And then from there, you'll attend a webinar. It's about an hour, hour and a half to get all the information on what you would need. You will need an advisor on campus that is a classified staff. So sometimes that's a school psychologist or a counselor, and really as many advisors as you can get is really the best way to go. And then at least for students, and then you'll need approval of a principal, and then approval of the NAMI affiliate. And in our case, it's Brenda Scott at NAMI Mount Jacinto. And just some highlights of kind of what we've done this year. Oh, 1 minute. Okay, thank you. We've done the Start with Hello Week, Bullying Prevention Day, Suicide Prevention Kids. We partner with our Multicultural Council called MCC here, and our Metro group, coping skills presentations. Just kind of a side note, all all of our homecoming nominees were nominated by each club. And actually NAMI at North was actually got the homecoming queen. So it said NAMI at North representative got homecoming queen. So that was kind of cool. Our name and our group actually got a lot of recognition out there. And then we actually have a student board member that's taking over next month. That's going to be actually on the board to be able to be a student voice. And she represents NAMI as well. So this club just presents and it has so many opportunities to raise awareness of mental health. It's really kind of odd that we had a time where we didn't have this on campus. So, and then just to explain, and I'm done with NAMI on campus, and then.
And that's time, Matt.
That's time, okay.
Ooh.
So, oh, the buzzer, thank you.
That's your time. Okay, thank you so much. And so, yeah, here's the contact information for the 4 affiliates we have here in Riverside County. And the first step really, and in addition to checking out the website, is to make in contact with your local affiliate, as they are your resource and support for bringing that onto your campus. So we'll send this information out after the meeting today, but we did want to share some additional resources with you as well that are available in our county. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is the leading national not-for-profit organization exclusively dedicated to understanding and preventing suicide through research, education, and advocacy, and to reaching out to people with mental disorders and those impacted by suicide. In support of this mission, AFSP engages and trains dedicated and passionate volunteers in the Coachella Valley to offer educational programs for professionals, educate the public about mood disorders and suicide prevention, promote policies and legislation that impact suicide prevention, and provide programs and resources for survivors of suicide loss and people at risk. We did a webinar last month through our coalition that was looking at loss survivors and hopefully connecting them to some peer support services, not only for themselves, but if they're ready to give back, that they can also step into a role of becoming a helper to someone who has newly experienced a loss. And AFSP is one of those organizations to get connected to. We also wanted to tell you about Project 99, whose mission is to educate teens in the community about the negative consequences of suicide and to show students how one choice can devastate an entire community. Their panel of speakers discusses the topics of how suicide directly affects one's family and community, resources available to those that are affected, other ways of coping and releasing negative emotions, and reassures students that they're not alone in their time of distress. And of course, we want to remind you all of the free trainings that are offered here through Prevention and Early Intervention, Assist, Safe Talk, Mental Health First Aid, all in-person trainings, and then Know the Signs. Suicide prevention is available both virtually and in person. You'll hear a little bit more about them later, and you can get in touch with us at pei@ruhealth.org for more information and registration. Okay, we are again that packed agenda. I'm going to welcome Michelle Downs, Staff Development Officer here on the PEI team, who wants to share with you some of the outcomes of our September Suicide Prevention Month. So Michelle, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. So this is going to be a little summary of the things that we did during September. Next, please. Next. So we had the campaign focus was on supportive transitions, which were re-enter, reconnect, and rebuild. Looking again into different things, right? Re-enter into new normal activities, reconnecting with people, with ourselves, and rebuilding other things, which is really wonderful because it also supports many of the goals of our subcommittees here in the coalition. Next, please. We had our proclamation that was presented during the Board of Supervisors with our UHS. We partnered in a collaboration with the substance abuse programs as well, as it was Nationally Recovered Month in the event. So we have that, which was exciting. And then we had weekly themes for the activities because we went for the entire month, right? So we had week 1 was reconnect, 2 building resilience, 3 focus on recovery, 4 express gratitude, and 5 connecting with others. And for each of these themes, we had activities that connected to the themes. We created this activity calendar, which tons of activities, as you can see the little screenshot, but we had something fun and nice and meaningful for every day. And then on the activity guides that were English and Spanish, there was detail for the suggested things to do. We had our social media hashtag, which was PEI September 20. Oh, mistake. That should have been 2021. Apologies. And so we had, that was a way for us to track what was going on in the social media with the activities that we proposed. We had presence in social media. We partnered with our community mental health program, and we had participants from their organizations to record videos for every week. This was exciting. We had our weekly videos on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And this year, not only we had English and Spanish, but we were able to expand and being able to have them in Tagalog, Vietnamese, Korean, and Mandarin Chinese. And we had combined 757 views for these videos, which, you know, we were thinking it was very successful. We also had virtual trainings that you will learn a little bit more about. We had these trainings throughout the month in English and Spanish, and we were able to reach 117 participants throughout the month. And we also were able to have some social media posts here. You know, you guys are talking about NAMI clubs and the high school. So here's a shout out for Techwoods High School in Hemet, who posted one of the hearts activities that we had. We had also the Jurupa Unified School District parent involvement share some of our posts. Unfortunately, sometimes it is not possible for us to find out the full extent of our social media reach, because even if people use the hashtag that we propose, if their accounts are private, we cannot track it. So sometimes this is something that it happens. I know I've done it myself in my own social media accounts, but we had things. We had our toolkit that included lots of activities, crossword, posters, cards. We provided this toolkit to all our community partners who were able to expand this reach for us during the month as well. And that is a brief summary. We were excited. And again, if you're interested in participating in any of our free trainings, there's a contact information and we will learn more about it in a minute. Thank you so much.
Terrific. Thank you, Michelle. All right. I want to just do a quick review of your coalition organizational structure. So in leadership is myself from behavioral health and Rebecca Antion from public health. We have a terrific team of administrative support that helps our co-chairs successfully navigate all of the objectives and goals in the strategic plan. And here are your co-chairs for each of our 6 subcommittees. We are going to hear from each of them now. You guys, just want to remind you all that we have about 5 to 7 minutes for each of you. I will set the timer. I will let you know when you've got 2 minutes left. Now I'm going to let Rebecca share a little more information.
Okay, so I'm sorry, can someone progress the slides?
Yeah.
All right, so we are looking at year 1 accomplishments, building hope and resilience. This was putting our strategic plan into action, and here's some accomplishments that we have for you. Each of our committees worked tirelessly this year to really put some amazing things into action and help us to meet the goals of our plan. And so we are starting, I believe, with
measuring and sharing outcomes.
Yes, measuring and sharing outcomes.
Thank you, Rebecca. Oh,
so Christy, I believe you're going to share for us?
Yes.
Great.
Did you have something else to add, Rebecca?
No.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Christy Muda, and I am a member of the Measuring and Sharing Outcomes Subcommittee. So a few months ago, our team reached out to all the subcommittees, and we asked each of the co-chairs if they can complete a survey that we designed to learn about their year 1 accomplishments. So with that information, we created this infographic that you can see here on your screen. And this infographic was presented to the Board of Supervisors in September of this year. And this infographic will also be made available to share in today's meeting. Thank you. So a particular focus for our subcommittee has been the collaboration between public health and behavioral health in exploring data sources that are available in order to create data briefs. A dashboard was also created to help provide context to suicide attempts and deaths in Riverside County.
Okay, and can you progress the slides? If that's it. Okay, so in addition to outlining the year one accomplishments of each of the subcommittees in the coalition, the infographic also included information on the county-wide suicide prevention efforts that are shown on this page. And so we outlined different layers of suicide prevention that are available through different county departments, which include ASSIST, youth and adult MHFA, or like mental health first aid, know the science and self-talk, and safe talk. Also culturally specific presentations through community mental health promoter programs and suicide prevention efforts in school, such as Directing Change and TSAP. We also included information of our local helpline and our crisis response system of care. And so we can share this PDF with you, with everyone today, like in an email, so you guys can have this as well.
Thank you. So to summarize for our accomplishments from our subcommittee this year, we created the data dashboard. We also have the creation of data briefs to address data requests related to suicide, and the development of a survey to receive feedbacks from our subcommittees to create the infographic on the coalition's success and present it to the Board of Supervisors. And we also started to explore potential relationships to gain access to additional data sources. Our next steps for this upcoming year are first to continue to understand, utilize, and synthesize available data sources that help address the issue of suicide, to utilize best practices by providing contextual understanding of the data presented to the public, and to develop partnership in order to form a suicide death review team for Riverside County. Our subcommittee has come across some barriers, and some that we've encountered have been how we can best synthesize the data and present it in a way that provides that much needed context with the issue of suicide. Another barrier has been receiving responses back from potential partners or finding out who that key person would be to invite to the table. So in the future, we're looking to continue partnership between behavioral health and public health, and also looking to bring in partnership with links to other data sources, such as schools, to better inform suicide prevention efforts, or other strategy groups whose efforts overlap with suicide prevention, such as the Inland Empire Opioid Crisis Coalition. And as well, to invite our county leadership, such as our local sheriffs, coroners, and medical examiners, to help the future development of a suicide death review team.
Terrific. Thank you, Christy and Sona, for that update. Next up is our effective messaging subcommittee. So I'll invite the co-chairs to share. Jen or Mary, are you either of you here today?
Hi, sorry about that. My button was freezing. I kept pushing it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Carson. I'm the Crisis Line Supervisor for Inland SoCal Crisis Helpline 951-686-HELP. We're one of the oldest suicide hotlines on the West Coast. I'm also one of 14 elected board members of the American Association of Suicidology, and I'm an attempt survivor. So I'm excited to talk to you about the Effective Messaging Subcommittee. My co-chair this last year was Sarah Rodriguez, who's here with us today, and she's shifting into a different role. So Mary, who can wave at you, is coming on board as our co-chair, and she has a master's in public health and is a mental health promoter. So this last year, we of course focused on our goal, which is to develop social media images that supported effective suicide messaging and educating media outlets and public information officers on safer suicide messaging. If the slides can go forward, that would be great. Also in the area of safe reporting of suicide and healthy social media use. Some of the accomplishments were we trained over 40 public information officers on using safe messaging. We completed a media toolkit. Our next steps are going to be under an overarching goal that we want to advise all of the other subcommittees and help amplify their work. And so we plan to host another workshop that we mentioned with public information officers, expand the toolkit, but we want to also expand our capacity to collaborate and advise and amplify all of the other subcommittees' work. So we're hoping to visit every single subcommittee meeting team. And so we'll be dropping our information in the chat box. And then also we are going to develop a way that other subcommittees can receive rapid guidance in the area of safe messaging, safe and effective messaging. So we'll be giving that guidance form. It'll be a cloud-based form that you could submit to get rapid guidance. So we'll be advancing our collaboration in that manner. So, and we'll continue our partnerships with Each Mind Matters, the coalition subcommittees and RUHS, but as well as expanding these partners in the upcoming year. Also, we wanted to share that we have 2 new people coming on is our coordination team, and that's going to be Jane Lee Rivera and Audrey May Hernandez. So we're excited to build capacity and start increasing collaboration with the other subcommittees. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen, for a great update, and welcome to our new coalition members and support. Thank you so much. So next up, we want to hear from our upstream subcommittee. So Mary Orshore, who will be sharing with us today.
There we go. This is Mary. I am pleased to be able to report for the upstream committee. I don't know that Shore is able to join us yet. So if Shore is out there, join in anytime. So as far as our upstream committee and the goal, the goal was to increase connectedness between people, family members, and community, increase resiliency and help seeking. To address the strategy of promoting that resiliency, our objective was to integrate activities into the community, based services, and increase life skills. To expand services to increase help-seeking behaviors and promote messages of resiliency, recovery, and hope. As far as the accomplishments, we were able to identify certain age groups to target. And as you saw, the statistics that were presented earlier in 2020, the target populations that we looked at were 10 to 14-year-olds and the older adult population. As part of the accomplishments, we were able to outreach to senior centers throughout Riverside County and distribute some of the suicide prevention materials to them, which was new to them having that kind of material in their centers. So that was a good thing. And then we were able to distribute a survey to assess coping skills that are used by seniors, so we can use that information at a later time. Some of the next steps there with promoting resiliency is to follow up with those senior centers to see if they had any feedback from center attendees and or staff on that campaign. Identify other methods to outreach with that senior survey. Continue to provide know the signs information to different community partners. And then I hadn't mentioned yet, but we did produce a short video, and that comes under our Healthy and Connected Communities. We would like to produce more short videos to help build that support and connection using intergenerational best practices. As far as the Healthy and Connected Communities, if we could click, I think there's another click. There we go. We created that video, as I mentioned, video message campaign to increase social engagement between youth and elders. And that was very well received by the seniors. And I think the youth that created it were really pleased with themselves. It focused on the fact that we were still in a pandemic, and we asked the youth to give the seniors some positive messaging, that it would be over soon, and that to stay connected to others. And so I think it helped both populations. We also distributed the survey to seniors about their interest in connecting with youth. And we were only expecting about 30 responses, and we're able to receive about 58. So that's going to give us some methods to be able to develop a senior advisory group, so we could see how else we can reach out to the seniors. And the next step is to continue to expand community membership, create that advisory group that I just mentioned, so that we could see how we can reach out to the most vulnerable seniors, outreach to the senior care community, and then of course continue with the video campaigns with the youth, and see how we can integrate the youth and the seniors more, and identify goals and activities related specifically to promote a culture free of stigma and discrimination. And we're hoping, again, being from the Office on Aging, my focus is usually on the senior community. So more partners in the senior community, reaching out to support group leaders and other leaders of youth activities to see how we can get them more involved, and then to create a more diverse community membership within our committee.
Terrific, Mary. And we thought that it would be really nice to be able to share those videos with the group. So we do have one of the videos that was put together by this subcommittee.
Hello, elders. We want you to know that you really inspire us and you make us very happy when we're around.
This COVID stuff, we just had to get through this, and I know it's hard, but we still need to be strong and think on the positive side, not the negative side.
We hope that you guys are doing okay and that love is being sent your way, and that's it. Make sure to stay in there and hang in there, like the poster says.
Remember, smiling is contagious, so smile at someone today.
I know times are tough right now, and I just want you to stay positive and stay happy. Bye.
Don't give up. Hope this video makes you smile a little bit more today. Just want to let you know that we are always thinking of you, and we are all in this together. It'll all be over soon.
And these were students from Alborg Unified that worked in partnership with Community Now, Shore's organization, to put together these videos. I think there was a total of 3 different videos that were then shared across contact lists. And if you want a copy of these videos, if you haven't received them yet, we can absolutely share those as well. All right, thank you, Mary. Great update.
Thank you.
Next up is our prevention subcommittee. So we have 2 work groups that make up our prevention subcommittee. We're going to start with engaging schools, which is Matt and Kat again.
All right. So with engaging schools, I'll go ahead and start. We are making progress, and we have a lot of options that we're looking into moving forward with. And we're going to start by getting more involved and including more of the voice of students. So one group that we do have is Gen Up students, and they're a youth-led group that they do have meetings across California, but virtually, and they work with state senates to pass mental health bills and do a lot of things like that. And so these students represent different clubs on campus within the county, and like I would say all across California. And so this group has now started to spread. Some of you may have heard of Gen Up within just the county of Riverside, because they are starting to have their voice with regards to mental health. So those are students that we're including. In addition to, one thing that we're trying to really focus on is getting admin staff, as well as different school staff like school psychs and clinicians within the school districts, to be a part of these meetings, so that way we can really do some of the work that we're looking into, since we were looking into really creating a change with regards to our goals, and really having a decrease on campus with regards to some of those stigmas around mental illness. And so what some of the barriers that I would say that we have encountered is some of the timeframes of working with some of the schools because of, coming back from working after COVID, in addition to having those meetings after school. So really trying to work on a time and place to offer these meetings, as well as getting buy-in from the school staff and the students involved. And so some of the next steps that we were discussing as well is creating that resource list that can be shared with the districts within the county, and bringing more of the subcommittee members from different parts of the school system, and making sure that there's different representatives so we can go over what some of those options are for the Engaging School committee. And then another thing that we're looking to do is bringing a representative from Plus next to kind of go over what they do. So it's something we can show the different options that are available to the schools within the county.
Awesome. Thank you, Kat. Next, we'll hear from the training subgroup, which is Andrea Deaton.
All right. Good morning, everyone. For trainings this year, some of the things we were able to do is hold a Know the Signs presentation as one of our subcommittee meetings and open that up to other subcommittees that are part of the coalition. We figured what a better place to start in regards to gatekeeper training than with those of us engaged in this effort that had not yet received that training or wanted to experience a different training than one they maybe have already received. So that worked out really nicely. And we also kind of shifted then our focus, because we obviously know in COVID, we haven't been able to provide training in the way that we've typically been accustomed to doing, in ways that have been well established. So we wanted to look at reaching out to our community partners in a different way. We're really well established with our school partners, as you've heard. We've been very busy getting things on calendar to do some suicide prevention trainings for our schools, but we wanted to really reach out to like local governments. So we asked our membership to share with us contact information for their local city council, their local police department, other kinds of those community leadership organizations, so that we could reach out and ask them to host trainings for us, provide them more information about the coalition, and try to educate them on the importance of suicide prevention, and that kind of laced into the community in that way. So that's something that we started on and are looking to continue into our second year. So we'll continue to follow up with those community partners and hopefully get some trainings on calendar, whether they be in person or virtual. We do have the flexibility a little bit more now to do that. And we're also looking to bring in that second piece of our goal, which is also to provide training around assessment, not just kind of the basic suicide prevention training. And so we'll be shifting our focus to that assessment piece and starting with engaging our Engaging Schools group around the SPARE training or the SPARE assessment, and getting some more detailed information about that SPARE assessment to our schools group, so that we can see how those two things can partner together. Some barriers that aren't listed here. Honestly, the biggest barrier has been difficulty with engagement with the group. We've lost our 2 co-chairs and also saw a significant reduction in engagement and membership in the trainings group. So if anyone is interested in engaging in this work in this way, please let me know. I would be more than happy to have you join us in spreading training in Riverside County around suicide prevention and assessment, which I know Diana is going to talk a little bit about that with the co-chair piece later. So that's really been a big barrier. And then obviously just not being able to do trainings in the way that we are accustomed and well established, and having to learn to pivot and shift, as we all have in the last year and a half, still presents a challenge, but one we are definitely willing to work to meet.
All right, thank you, Andrea. We are now going to move into our next subcommittee update, which is from the intervention group, and we have Jim Grisham here to share.
Hi, thank you for having me. I wanted to acknowledge Joanna Armendariz from the Moreno Valley School District as our co-chair. Our initial focus this year was to address the expansion of integration of suicide prevention and health services. We focused on the following objectives. 1, delivering a continuum of crisis services across the county. 2, evaluating crisis services to identify gaps, and also to identify best practices. This year, we've been able to accomplish the following. We've addressed a continuum of crisis services by breaking into regional groups and developing a questionnaire for crisis services and for inpatient services. We have evaluated crisis service and identified gaps by developing a flyer to assist service providers with transitions in care. That is currently in development, and Michelle Downs is leading that process. We've also been addressing best practices by having dialogues with subcommittee members and bringing to the table everyone's different areas of expertise. Part of our collaborative involved in crisis services and outpatient services and school district direct service providers. So it's interesting to hear everybody's worldview. In the coming year, we plan to promote this flyer and involve the use of this flyer by crisis services and then get their input. We want to develop a hard copy and also a tool to utilize in a PDF format so they can develop it for use in their own areas. Our hope is that this flyer re-engages some of the current and new crisis service providers and staff in conversation and collaboration with our intervention subcommittee. We also plan to identify service providers in the area and ask them about their system of support, as well as seek their input in our committee and our groups and our current flyer development, as well as our future efforts. We found that the resources and different experiences of our committee members have and how they've had to navigate the system has been a crucial aspect of our learning in this committee. The barriers that we've encountered are not that all service providers have responded to our inquiries, usually because of the busyness of their work, and also encountering the unique needs of each crisis support agency. Our current and future partnerships include committee members and organizations that we've contacted, crisis service providers, supervisors, direct care staff, and hospital direct care staff. Additional future goal is to address the means safety. We focused on the objectives of creating safe environments by reducing lethal means and identifying community and business partners who would partner with us in addressing those areas. This year, we've been able to complete a training with a lethal means reduction expert and partner with Riverside Overdose Data and Action, or RODA group. In the coming year, we want to continue to partnership with RODA. We want to identify businesses that are comfortable with addressing and outlining our collaborative efforts. And we want to identify best practice trainings for all direct care staff, including RUHS and other direct service providers like people working in the schools. Resources have included suicide prevention expert Stan Collins, who provided a training for our large committee, but also for our subcommittee on means reduction and best practices in terms of future trainings. Our subcommittee members and their commitment to the process are key to our successful efforts currently and in the future. And we want to identify additional partners to add to our subcommittee, because people change, jobs change, as other subcommittees know. So our barriers have been identifying potential new members and community partners, and developing goals and partners to kind of dovetail with our effort. Current and future partners include RODA and other crisis service members, and indirect care staff is an important piece to add in terms of really meeting their needs to provide care for somebody who's contemplating suicide.
All right, thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Great update. Into our final subcommittee report, we are going to hear from Brenda Scott, who's the chair of postvention.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
In postvention, we address the goals of developing community postvention and implementation teams to coordinate effective responses at the various levels and across multiple settings. Also, implementation and expansion of suicide survivor groups into systems of care to address immediate, delayed, and ongoing supports. So in our first year, we accomplished contract development with TIP, or Trauma Intervention Program of Riverside County, to provide postvention services to survivors of suicide loss, and trained TIP volunteers in suicide postvention specific response with Noah Whitaker. We also hosted a webinar called Grief After Suicide for suicide loss survivors during Suicide Prevention Month with Dr. John Jordan. 7 survivors attended out of 14 participants. And we had presentations from AFSP, or American Foundation for Suicide Loss, or for Suicide Prevention, and also survivors of suicide loss, which is SOSL, which were also included. And that webinar is available because it was recorded if anyone wants to see that webinar. In the upcoming year, we plan to put a MOU in place between RUHS, Behavioral Health, and TIP so that we can order materials for the loss kits and local outreach to suicide survivors. So also to provide the loss kits to all TIP volunteers responding to at least 25% of suicide calls. So that is, for the first year, that's our goal, to get at least 25% of the suicide calls on scene for them to get a loss kit. The loss kits would also be mailed or hand delivered to the remaining 75% of the suicide calls. So that would be to the suicide loss survivors. Have all TIP volunteers trained in the suicide postvention support model, and continue to encourage volunteers for the survivor support groups, and work with AFSP and SOSL, or survivors of suicide loss, on putting on the training. So AFSP has something called Healing Conversations, which if you are a loss survivor yourself, you can become a part of this. And so we are continuing, as I said, to encourage people. I think that's kind of been one of the barriers right now that we're just continuing to work with. So resources has been in the partnership with TIP. They're putting together the resources, and the subject area experts. Behavioral health barriers, as I said, have been finding and building necessary partnerships to build postvention services in Riverside County. We look forward to the continued partnership with TIP, behavioral health contract providers, community members, SOSL volunteers, and first responders. Thank you.
So we have a video that was created to help in recruitment for our TIP volunteers, some people who may be interested in being a part of this organization and supporting individuals at the time of a loss to suicide. So I want to share that with you now.
Hi, my name is Brenda Scott, and I'm a 2-time survivor of suicide loss living in Riverside County. When I was 14, my mother died by suicide. There were 4 of us children left as survivors. We had no support, and my younger brother coped by using drugs and alcohol. When my brother was 23, he took his life. Our family had no support at the time, and we coped in a variety of ways. As an adult, I was able to find support groups to help me process this loss. Many families feel very alone in this trauma and don't know where to turn. My wish is that our family would have known some of the resources that may have been available to us. Riverside County has a Suicide Prevention Coalition, and I am involved in the Postvention Committee. I am very excited to be involved in this project and look forward to working with TIP and being a part of the loss team to be able to support other families in this loss.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jill Miller, and I lost my sister to suicide in 2005. Part of my own healing involves volunteering and helping others, loss survivors, know they are not alone in their pain. The Riverside County Coalition for Suicide Prevention is partnering with TIP to provide support to suicide loss survivors. We need your support countywide. If you are a loss survivor, you too can be a volunteer on the TIP Loss team and help others know there is hope and assistance after losing a loved one.
Hello, I'm Magda Stewart, the CEO for the Trauma Intervention Program of Riverside County, also known as TIP. We're a group of specially trained volunteers who provide emotional and practical support to survivors on scenes of traumatic events at the request of first responders. I am really happy to say that we are partnering up with the Riverside Suicide Prevention Coalition to provide our volunteers specialized training to be able to better support survivors of suicide in Riverside County. We're always looking for volunteers, and today I want to encourage those of you who are suicide survivors to please consider joining our team so you can be a part of this post-vention movement. But of course, we welcome everyone. For more information, visit our website or call the number on the screen. Bilingual volunteers are also needed.
So if anyone isn't interested in being a part of TIP or being a part of AFSP or SOSL groups, please connect with Brenda or myself and we will get you the information that you need. What a rich sharing of year one reports. I want to thank so much our subcommittees, our co-chairs for the amazing amount of work that has been done in just 1 year's time in really diving in and bringing to life this strategic plan and working to help end suicide in Riverside County. So we wanted to take a little bit of time today to recognize you all for this hard work that you have been doing and the contributions you're making here in our county. And here are your co-chairs. So we're just so deeply grateful for the dedication, time, and the efforts that our co-chairs have poured into their subcommittees. These are extra duties for everybody that is working together, and we thank you for that time. We anticipate that as we move through the work in our strategic plan that we will have changes in co-chairs. So we want to thank a special thank you to Sarah Rodriguez for her help in co-chairing the Effective Messaging Subcommittee. A thank you to Cherie Summers for her participation as co-chair this past year for the Upstream Subcommittee. And thank you to Stephanie Lassane and Tishani Finnegan for their time as co-chairs for the Training Subcommittee under the Prevention section. And also thank you to Dr. Jill Miller for all of her work with the Postvention Subcommittee as co-chair. We do want to welcome Mary Obaday from Public Health as a new co-chair that was mentioned for our Effective Messaging Subcommittee. Mary's helped to support this subcommittee as their liaison all year, but now will be stepping into the new role to advance the goals of the subcommittee as co-chair. So thank you, Mary, for stepping in. And we are looking for new co-chairs for our trainings and postvention subcommittee. So if you or someone you know would be a good fit, please reach out to Rebecca or I with your interest or recommendation. And we'd also want to recognize all of our support staff who've helped to support the subcommittees, our behavioral health team as of the liaisons, the clerical support. Thank you for your time and your support this past year. We are going to be providing all of our co-chairs, liaisons, and clerical supports with certificates of appreciation and these lovely gift baskets that are full of mental health awareness information, suicide prevention information. These are things that you can use yourself, share in your work setting or your home setting, and certainly share with others who could benefit from hearing more about Each Mind Matters, stopping the stigma of mental illness, and reaching out for help, especially if there are thoughts of suicide. So we will coordinate with you after this meeting. Co-chairs, we again wish we could have been in person and had a meal together and shared these with you in real life. But for now, we will coordinate with you a drop off or pickup so that you each get each of these items as true appreciation for the amount of work that you've put in and that you will continue to do. We are just so grateful to you. And I am just also so proud of us that we have done a great job keeping to agenda and keeping on time, which leaves us opportunity for questions. So just to leave with a couple of thoughts here, which, we can have some opportunity for Q&A. I haven't been able to see the chat, so I'm going to lean on Rebecca to let me know if there are any questions coming in chat You can certainly unmute and ask a question. We want to have time for that, but I'll just add some of this information up here to keep you in the know, as our next quarterly meeting will be Wednesday, January 28th at 9 a.m. You will receive an invitation from me via email. So if you have not received those emails from me in the past and you are new to our group, you will be added to our contact list. So now you will get information from me about our meetings, as well as other suicide prevention related information throughout the year. And so if you have interest in not only coming to quarterly meetings, but being a part of a subcommittee, which is really where the real work happens, you can email us at pei@ruhealth.org and we will get you all the information that you need and get you connected to those co-chairs. So you get all the Zoom links. Hopefully in this next year, some of us will be able to gather in person. So I wanted to make sure you had this upcoming information. And now I will open up the floor for comments or questions. Rebecca, did anything come in on chat?
Nothing so far. Lots of just thank yous and support for all the great work that has been done by our coalition members and chairs. We have a thank you to our RISE interpreters. That was very much appreciated.
And
for
this
your
is Gloria. Hi, this is Gloria.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so yeah, so I just want to say thank you for letting me be here. And this has just been such a wonderful presentation. I've been completely engulfed in this data and all the presentations. It's been so wonderful. I remember it was probably about a couple of years before when we had, before COVID, and we had the at CSDR, the School for the Deaf Riverside. We had them involved, and that was quite a bit. You know, we had the school try to see if we can get certified and get them back in to work with CSDR and the students that are there at CSDR. And so we're trying to get connected again and make sure that we can have intervention and prevention and getting it back in the works again. Is it possible to get CSDR back into the committee?
Yes, we would love that. And any of your help to help us get connected, we would definitely love. And I know that a couple of my
Yeah, I'll
staff
definitely connect with a few people. I'll contact CSDR counseling group that we have, their committee, and see what we can do to be able to get in contact with you. I'll connect you with the right heads and to see if we can get back in track.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Diana, it was mentioned that January 28th is a Friday. So the next meeting, we're assuming we meant January 26th.
Yes, you are probably right. Thank you, Donna, for noticing that. It is the Wednesday. Yes, it will always be on a Wednesday. So apologize for the typo. We will make sure that the upcoming calendar, which you will also receive, if it's not in the chat now, we will send it to you in the closing email that will have the correct dates and times for all of our future meetings. Thank you. I think January 28th was probably from last year. Other comments or questions? And co-chairs, any final, anything you want to add? I know I moved you along quickly and now we've got a couple of extra minutes. If there's any
Diana, I'd like to share, I put it in the chat, but I just want to echo what you said about the support staff and liaisons. Frankly, we couldn't co-chair without them. And so I think I just want to echo that with you.
Yeah.
And thank you to you and Rebecca. It was also put in the chat, but you've been encouraging in this year. So wanted to acknowledge that as well.
Thank you.
And this is Gloria. I just wanted to confirm, will we have interpreters for the next quarter meeting in January?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, doesn't look like any other questions have come into the chat.
Okay, well, in addition to celebrating the wonderful work you've all done, I will give you the gift of 10 extra minutes to your day. So if there aren't any other questions or comments, thank you all again so very much for your work on this effort. And for those of you that join us in these quarterly meetings to get updates, please share this information with those that you work with and let them know that we've got plenty of space to add folks onto subcommittee as well as co-chair space. And we just are looking forward to having a truly community-run coalition. So we will be in touch with you over the holiday season and look forward to meeting with you again in January. And in the meantime, have a very happy holiday season. I can't believe we're already here, and stay well. Thank you all so much.
And a recording will be sent out, correct, Diana?
Correct, along with the slides and any handouts we've referenced as well.
Great.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.